morning, or depending on when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always told out of Voice of Radio. So today, we've got a new Salazzle card, and I'm going to give you the same talk I do every time we talk about Salazzle. How I was playing through Pokemon Moon, and of course Salanded it, and I evolved it. Well, I didn't evolve it, I leveled it up, and 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 I'm like, it's going to evolve in a minute. It's going to evolve in a minute. It's not going to evolve in a minute. Boo! Yeah, it turns out only the female ones evolve. Never mind. And I know there are other Pokemon that have done that in the past. That's not what we're talking about today. Boo, Salazzle! But we do have a new Salazzle card. Our translation comes from the lovely Antoine Boulet. So let's take a little bit of a look, shall we? Now, in terms of the basics here, we've got 90 HP to begin with, which honestly for a stage 1 that's meant as an attacker is not high. And it's really not high. I mean, we've seen 100 HP Salazzles in the past. We've had a lot of Salazzle. But we've yet to see a Salazzle with 90 HP, so shall we say, being a little bit hard done by, there had better be something here that we can hang our hats on. Well, if we look at the retreat cost here, we're rocking a retreat cost of 1, which does mean free retreat with U-turn board, which is quite nice. Weakness to water is not ideal. Inteleon's running around, but it's not the worst weakness we've ever seen. We can live with it. And being a fire Pokemon is obviously awesome, because you've got Welder to accelerate energy, and you've got Giant Hearth to grab energy, and Fire Crystal to get energy. You're hitting weakness on metal Pokemon like Zacian, as well as grass Pokemon like Zarude. So, yeah, I mean, in terms of being a fire Pokemon is awesome right now. But what does it actually do? Well, the first attack we are going to spend very little time on, because the first attack is just garbage. 1 fire energy, your opponent's active Pokemon is now confused. That's it. No damage, just confusion. Now, one of the ones that I always liked having a little bit of a play around with a little while ago was the Xurkitree from Forbidden Light, that for 1 coloured energy did 20 damage plus confusion on a basic. So if you see a basic like Xurkitree that does 20 plus confusion for a single energy, and then Salazzle comes in with just confusion for a single energy, I get pretty bored pretty quickly and kind of tune out. So there needs to be something more, ladies and gentlemen. There needs to be something more. Well, the good news is the second attack is awesome. 2 colourless energy. This attack does 90 damage for each status condition on your opponent's active Pokemon. Oh. Yeah, that'll do, Pig. That'll do. This is the kind of attack we can absolutely get behind. Because, you see, we need to pay the energy and we need to get the special conditions on, and we can do both of them, more on those in a moment. And we need to compare it to other Pokemon to make sure it's actually better than the alternatives we've got. And it totally is. Things are looking good, ladies and gentlemen. Things are looking good. Now, in terms of the energy, it is really straightforward. We can use Twin Energy, because you're a non-GX, non-V Pokemon. You can use Triple Acceleration Energy, because you're an evolved Pokemon. That does fall off at the end of your turn, though, so I wouldn't recommend it. And being a fire Pokemon, you can use Welder, although there is enough support, we want to use more on that in a moment. So you know what? All of that is looking pretty good. And actually, while we're talking about drawing cards, do remember that until we hit the rotation, we will have the Salazzle from Unbroken Bonds that lets you discard a fire energy from your hand and draw 3 cards. I mean, if you're going for a Salazzle deck, you want to be playing mostly this new Salazzle. This is going to be your main one. But a 3-1 split, having one of the ones from Unbroken Bonds, remember it's 4 Salazzle regardless of which one in your deck. So I don't think you can go more than the 3-1 split here, but I would really, at least until we hit rotation and it goes away, I would really recommend a 3-1 split here. So we can get the energy on quite easily. We've actually got a little bit of extra draw coming in as well. And in terms of special conditions, honestly, we're doing all right for special conditions right now. I mean, the main one to look at is probably got to be the Weeping Bell from earlier, that I showed you earlier today. Now, I could have mashed these into one video, but I don't think that would have been fair. I think Weeping Bell's best use is still... Oh, I should have said, shouldn't I? When you evolve into it, poison and burn on your opponent's active. I still think the best use for Weeping Bell is just as a general tech to do extra damage in whatever deck you like, but there is definitely a good use here with Salazzle. So you evolve into Weeping Bell, there's 2 special conditions, you're hitting 180 damage, but you're not really hitting 180 damage. Because you see, you're hitting 180 damage, but you've burned your opponent, so that's an extra 20 damage, now it's 200. And then if they stay in the active and flip tails, it's another 20, and so on and so forth. And they're burned, so it's 10 damage after your turn, and if they don't get out the active, 10 after theirs, and so on and so forth. So that 180 actually turns into 210, and we can still do better than that. Now, the one I really miss here is Mareep. Mareep has gone and rotated, and that sucks. Mareep, if it was in the active, you could leave your opponent's active Pokemon asleep, and then you could free retreat with U-turn board, and that would be amazing. But unfortunately, it doesn't actually work, and that's a little bit sad. But we're really going for 3 special conditions here. 3 special conditions will be 270, add the poison, add the burn is up to 300, and 300 damage for 2 energy on a single price, single energy Pokemon. That sounds quite nice. So, where's the 3rd special condition coming from? Could be Yellhorn. Yellhorn would work quite nicely here. Yellhorn confuses both active Pokemon, yours and your opponent's, so you don't want to play this when Salazzle's in the active, unless you've got another Salazzle on the bench. Remember I said you get free retreat here with U-turn board. That is pretty big, so do that. Essentially, just make sure you can retreat, or switch, but preferably retreat. So you play Yellhorn, they're confused, then you evolve up into Weeping Bell, and they are poisoned and burned and confused. You're now hitting 270 plus the poison damage plus the burn damage, and if they try and attack, they flip tails and they take 30 damage. And incidentally, if they flip tails on confusion, they are guaranteed to be KO'd. The biggest, baddest Pokemon we've got at the moment in terms of HP is Eternatus with 340. Well, 3 special conditions is 270. Add the 20 from Burn is 290. Add the 10 from Poison is 300. If they flip tails on Confusion, that's 330. Take the 10 from Poison even if they flipped heads on Burn. Oh yeah, that's 340 and they're done. So that's pretty good. So Yellhorn plus Weeping Bell will do this quite easily. And getting a stage 1 and an item card is not as difficult as you might think. Do remember that you can use Scoop Up Net to reuse Weeping Bell, and might I suggest you do. Outside of that, we do have a few options. Koga's Trap is a nice one here. Koga's Trap is a supporter card that will both confuse and poison. You might need somewhere to get the 3rd special condition. I mean, against something like a Crobat V, you are getting a KO for 2 prizes, you're good to go. But against something like a Zacian, especially bearing in mind their resistance to you, 2 special conditions isn't going to be enough. You're going to need a 3rd. So, I mean, you could just go for Victory Bell again, and okay, you're double poisoning, except it's still just the same 10 damage between turns, but you still get confusion, and you get your poison, and you get your burn. That's all good for me. There are a couple of others, but we are largely looking at stage 2, so when we're looking at stage 2s, it gets a little bit more awkward. So you could have a play around with Vanillux. Now, Vanillux is one that I'm a bit of a fan of here. This is the Vanillux that came around in Darkness Ablaze with the ability Bitter Cold. If it's active, flip a coin. If heads, paralysis. It is on a coin flip, which sucks, but it is paralysis, which is awesome. And paralysis is better than sleep or confusion. Sleep or confusion, your opponent can try and flip out of it. But if your opponent is sitting there paralyzed, their one and only option is switching. If they can't switch out of it, they're done. And that's hilarious. For you, not for your opponent. So that's kind of cool. The other one we can go for here, which I do think is a really nice option as well, albeit as a stage 2, is Vileplume. Now, Vileplume's got a really nice ability that lets you choose a special condition as long as you can flip a heads. You can't choose paralysis for obvious reasons, but you can choose asleep, burn, confusion, or poison. So this is a really nice one because you essentially get to we get to have a little bit of a play, and, you know, if you've used Koga's Trap for Confusion and Poison, you can go for Burn, for instance. You can pick the one that best fits with what you're otherwise doing, or the one that's most annoying at this particular time. The other option we do have, and this one I'm not such a fan of because it's getting a little bit awkward, but we do have Amoonguss. Now, Amoonguss has got an ability whereby if you play a Pokemon with Spore, you have Sleep and Poison, which is obviously quite nice, but you got to have the Amoonguss out and then play either a Fungus or a Breloom, and then get the third special condition. It's a little awkward. It is worth reminding ourselves, of course, that Breloom will also use Grass Energy, but will be a fighting Pokemon, and if the defending is asleep, you do 120 for a single fighting energy, which is enough to get a KO on a Pikachu and Zekrom. But then again, if we play trying to get 3 special conditions on, we'll be getting a one-hit KO on Pikachu and Zekrom anyway, so I'm playing for the third special condition. Honestly here, I think the way to go is Weeping Bell with Yellhorn and Koga's Trap. That is what I think is the best way to go about doing this. And then you've got a single prize, single energy deck. And, you know, if you're against a single prize deck, you're not going to need to use stuff like Yellhorn. You'll get KOs way more easily. I mean, it might be just a Yellhorn for a KO or just a Weeping Bell. And if you're against 2 and 3 prize decks, you are going to be able to trade very favourably here. I like this an awful lot. Oh, I'm giving it between 3 and 4 Wassies, but I don't give half Wassies. That would be barbaric, and I already feel like I'm not giving it enough credit. We've seen attacks like this in the past. We've seen the Alolan Grimer from Team Up, but Alolan Grimer does 20 damage base, plus 50 for each special condition. That is nowhere near as much damage. 3 special conditions there is 170. That is less than 2 special conditions on Salazzle here. It's not even close. We've seen Victory Bell, the one from Unbroken Bonds, which will, of course, evolve from a Weeping Bell. And that's 10 damage plus 60. But again, 3 special conditions is 190, not 270. And you're talking about a stage 2. If we compare this to the other Pokemon that have done this kind of stuff in the past, this is just infinitely better. And this one has a real chance to be real good. But I'd like to know what you think. So let me know in the comment section, would ya? Go nuts! Be nice! And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at The Wassie, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/PTCG Radio. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all that good stuff, head on over to patreon.com/PTCG Radio, where you can do exactly that. But by far the most important thing, as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.